So welcome, Jacko here from the School of Calisthenics. Thank you all already for having joined. Don't worry, it's not getting the guitar. We're talking about frog stands, and we're talking about the ability when we're in one of these frog stands to be able to take that knee off and be able to stay there and not collapse down and not lose our strength and not lose the ability to hold the structural integrity of this front part of the body, that anterior chain that is working hard through the shoulders, through the triceps to keep us there. So I'm going to give us a few little tips to help work through that. So you can follow along with us. This is going to be available to watch back on replay on IGTV or on YouTube. If you put in the comments now, if you're working on your frog to handstand, and let us know in the comments. And if you feel like literally the same principles, whether you're taking one leg off or you're trying to take both legs off, the same principles here are going to apply. So what I want to take us through and just explain a few little technique things that are going to potentially help. Ultimately, we need to build up more strength through the shoulders, through the triceps to help us stay strong in this position. But let's think about what are some of the shapes that we're going to try to create with this frog stand. And then if you feel like you get into this position and you feel like, crikey, my leg, I'm trying, but my legs just feel like they're glued on. Like sometimes people complain about, like, when you first start, like the knee on the back of here feels a bit uncomfortable. Sometimes people even literally get like a bruise, but you might feel like your legs literally feel like they're stuck to your elbows or to your triceps. And a lot of the time people like point at their core and they say like, I don't think I've got enough strength in my core to push them up. It's not to do with your core, I promise you, it's to do with what's going on at the shoulders, at the triceps. So let's just go through a few pointers initially to start with. So thank you for everyone that's joined this one live. If you're watching back on replay, thank you as well. But hands shoulder width apart. So initially we want to have them directly underneath, those hands directly positioned underneath the shoulders. That is going to give us a good starting point around stacking things on top of our base of support. So we want to, rather than being like too narrow or too wide, we're creating a lever arm. We want to have it directly underneath. I want you to spread those fingers. When you spread them out as wide as you can, creating a bigger base of support, that surface area, that's what's touching the floor. And also literally by extending those fingers out and pushing them down into the ground, you're starting to like create a little bit of fascial tension through the hands as well, which is going to help just create tension through the whole of this chain. Now, we want to be at the point where, I'm going to show you side on, we want to be at the point where rather than the elbows being, or the knees being outside of the elbows, and then the elbow being in that knee crease, where you end up like really low to the floor, I want us to be comfortable first with getting that knee above the elbow on towards the back of the tricep. So in order to do that, hands are in the same position, fingers are spread out. I go up onto my tiptoes, and then I'm going to start to rest, bend in the elbow to create a little ledge for that knee to then rest actually on the tricep. Just get comfortable. It's going to want to like slip off or on, slip off on the outside or slip off on the inside. But I want you to get comfortable with pressing those knees into the triceps and just get yourself feeling okay in this position where you're a bit higher up. So rather than being like with the knees outside the elbows and low down here, we're going to try to be a bit higher up in that type of shape. Okay, I'm just going to move the camera back ever so slightly. So that's what we're trying to do initially with this starting position. Okay, so get yourself comfortable with putting that knee on the tricep at the back there, and then from there, I want to think about our intent around creating tension through this front portion of the body. So I'm pushing the floor down away, pushing through the hands. I'm pushing my shoulder away. So effectively like that projection, I'm wrapping the shoulder blades around the ribcage. But I want to make sure we still have this posterior tilt into to the scapula. If we lose control or function of the scapula and the stability of the scapula in terms of it being flat and flush to that ribcage because it's tilting forwards a little bit in that anterior tilt, we want to keep the shoulder blades feeling like they're flat and stuck to that rib cage. So particularly the bottom portion, if this was my scapula, the bottom portion, keeping that nice and flush, feeling like you're pushing, you'll feel that nice connection through. It's almost like a sensation, I feel like I'm pushing through my back, okay? So, and then what my intent is, I'm going to be trying to push down as hard as I can before I do anything else. So it's not a case of, I get into my frog stand and just take that knee off and sort of fall down like that. Before I do anything, I have to set the right intention. So I would always want to do a repetition where I just push down into the ground as hard as I can and try and get strong through this front chain. Okay, so fingers are spread, pushing down hard into the ground. I feel like I'm pushing the shoulder blades around the back, feeling like I'm always pushing through the back itself. And then my intent is to push down as hard as I can. So not resting and slumping in this position. I push down as hard as I can. And if I did, then I'm literally strong enough, like both my legs are going to come up off the knees. But my intent, before I built up enough strength to do that, is going to just be like, here, I'm pushing as hard as I can, rather than being here and sort of like resting, and I'm slumped down a little bit. It's not a resting position. You should come out of the end of a maximal contraction in this frog stand where you're pushing down as hard as I can, like you're going to feel it through the shoulders, the anterior deltoid. You're going to feel it through your triceps, not just the knee on the back of it, but feel it in terms of trying to straighten that elbow, trying to push out and trying to push away. I'm even going to have a drink. So if that's starting to feel comfortable, or you're getting that idea of intent, for some people, that's actually the thing that changes it. It's like, okay, I'm not just resting here, I'm pushing down as hard as I can. And that being said, like when you then become strong enough, when I'm in this position here, and when I'm in this position here and I push down as hard as I can, what's going to happen is those legs are going to come off. And I've built up the strength to be able to hold myself in there. Obviously, that's a bigger progression, but just to illustrate the point and show you, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to prepare this chain to create enough tension so we're pushing out as hard as we can. And then we're going to take one knee off at a time. We're going to take it off, and rather than leaving it out to the side or straining it out behind us, we're just going to bring it in nice and tight towards our midline, towards the center. So we're not adding an extra lever on by straightening the leg out. But what's important and what's actually very interesting for people is not how bad my man bun thing looks. But what's really interesting is sometimes when people take that leg off, it's like they take it off and it sort of like goes out over here somewhere. And they don't know that they're doing that. They don't even realize that the leg is that they're focused so much on what's going on down in with their hands and with the shoulders that the leg goes off and does whatever it wants. So, the brain is ultimately controlling them, but it's that kinesthetic awareness, that spatial awareness of like where that leg is. But ultimately, when we have enough strength through that bottom chain, it allows us to cognitively be able to think about some other elements to it that's going to help. Yeah. So what we're going to do is try to put that then into practice. So I'm going to create the right position, create enough tension by the intent of how I'm pushing down into the floor. And then when I feel like I've created an awful lot of tension, I'm then going to take that one leg off and just be aware, rather than sending it out behind me, which is creating a lever arm, it's going to pull me down. I'm going to bring it in close to me and it's going to stay in the middle. And I'm going to try and hold this. We don't want to hold for like a split second. We want to try and hold for, a few seconds, ideally sort of like up to 5 seconds or more. So it's going to look something a little bit like this. I'll show you. Let's go in a slight angle this way. So fingers spread, hands directly in the shoulders, little bend in the elbow to create a ledge. Bring the knees up so the knees rest on that ledge. Bum then is a little bit higher. I'm pushing down as hard as I can, create that tension, take that knee off, hold it in the middle for a few seconds. And then if I can, I'm going to put it back on and come down, just rather than just like free falling down. Now, when you start, it's not going to necessarily look like that. What I'm going to do, I'll do the other side this time. So I'm not just, but you want to even it up so you're doing the same amount on each side. So have a little bit of a rest, and then we can go to the other side. So what might happen when you first start is you do all this, the things, you push down really hard, you take that knee off, and it's like, oh, and you take it off, but it sort of like comes down slowly. Now that's still very good. That's a long way. It's a big difference between that and taking the knee off and just falling down. Yeah. The second one, I've rushed there and I've not actually created enough tension to be able to hold that position. I'm not actually building strength, I'm just falling down. No one got strong falling over. So ideally we take that knee off, we bring it towards the midline, so we're not creating a lever arm behind us, making it more difficult. Bring it into the midline, nice and tucked and close, and then we want to hold there. So we hold for a few seconds, and the purpose of putting it back on just shows us we've got the strength and the control to be able to stay nice and high in that position. And then, ultimately, I'll stay this side for now. Ultimately, you can then, once that starts to feel good, it's like, okay, push down hard, keep that position, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back on, and then swap over. Hold that for 5, put back on, and then come down. So now I'm doing each side, but without resting in between. That would be a progression on from coming back down and resting between each one of those. Does that make sense? How have, let me know in the comments, interesting to know how people have been getting on. So on YouTube, Abe Hamster, resting my legs on the triceps 2 pivot. So yeah, you get used to it after a while. Like you could, if you wore like a jumper or something, so that it's not just like skin on skin, or if you've got tracksuit bottoms on, so your knees aren't just rubbing. Sometimes it's just like the rubbing of the skin, but it gets used to it. I promise you, don't worry. But it's a better position for you transitioning that frog stand into your full handstand, because if you start with your knees outside of the elbows in this really low position, you've got a long way to go to get that ass above your head. Whereas when I come up onto the toes and put the knees on the triceps, that bum is already an awful lot higher, getting closer towards the position of getting that bum stacked on top of the shoulders and on top of the hands into your handstand. So I hope that helps and makes sense. Just looking at some of the questions also on Instagram. G Woodroby saying great tips, glad it helps. Sam Rents 15, so it's really good, helpful, good. No problem at all, guys and girls. Someone saying problem with the balance, think it's my forearms are weak. I mean, your forearms do a lot of work, and the grip strength of your fingers. Remember, for balance wise, particularly in whether it's in your frog stand or your handstand, it's your fingertips gripping that become the brakes for when your legs, most often it's them going over the top. So gripping with the fingers helps to pull them back, and having the strength for your forearms to be able to have, it takes an awful lot more finger strength grip than we probably give ourselves justice. Give ourselves credit for, give the fingers credit for, that they need to be quite strong to be able to control and manage that and be the brakes. And yes, what controls your fingers are the forearm muscles that come all the way up to the elbow. So yes, but practicing and training that, and a good one for literally the frog stand, rather than we're having to worry about the full balance position, just to get used to that can be, I'll show you, show you front on, be a nice one. So going in a frog stand position, and literally grip with your fingers, and then move yourself side to side, using forwards and backwards, using your fingers to move you about. Just gives you a bit more awareness of using how you can use the fingers to manage your balance, and manage the weight distribution of keeping your center of mass, your body, that's stacked above your base of support, which is going to be your hands. And as you move that about, your hands have to react and help to, I don't know why I'm doing this, they're not like that, but you know what I mean, that little bit of movement, the fingers are working hard to grip. Kevin 10 saying wrist, so making sure you've got decent wrist extension, so that the hand, you can actually create a position where the forearm becomes vertical when you're in that position. Anything that we're doing around like where the hands are on the floor supporting us, so any of our crawling patterns, our push-ups, frog stands even themselves, just making sure that you're doing some of the mobility work on your wrists to keep them to loosen off some of the tissues around, particularly around the forearm, will help with that. And making sure you can get the wrist into a position comfortably where it is stacked vertically above the hand. If it's too tight around the front of hip, we need to do some release work. In our frog to handstand program, we've got an offer on that, 25% off that at the moment. There's all the movement preparation exercises we put in for, particularly around the shoulders and around the wrists, to prepare them for handstands. But the big thing is understanding that we need to build up progressively. If it's painful and sore, we need to do something to adjust that rather than just pushing through pain. Pain, remember, is your body's way, your brain's way of telling you that you need to work, something needs to be worked on a little bit. So, and then another question from YouTube: our knees are nearer to the elbow. Any tips to get higher? So getting yourself higher up. Some of it comes to, remember, the brain is very, very clever. Some of it comes to the higher you put your bum up, the more you're stacking weight on top of the shoulders. So there's a strength element that comes to it. But in terms of the way I get my knee to go higher on my elbow is literally pushing up through. So rather than be in this deep squat position, I come up and stick the bum up in the air, and that starts to help me get those knees higher up. So they're low down when I'm bent here. Rather, I just need to start to open up and extend through the knee a little bit more, and then I can put, if I go right up onto my tiptoes, I can get my knees right up into my armpits if I wanted to go as high as possible. Okay, so go up onto your tiptoes, go extend up through the knees. Dado, today I tried a handstand, but I crashed badly. This is one of the things with the great things about the frog stand. Like, there's less worry about falling over. When we're trying to learn something new, like the handstand, we love starting working with the bottom part for the frog stand, because it just creates a safe environment for the brain to understand and learn to use the hands like feet, prepare the wrists and the shoulders to build up the strength to be able to support our full body weight. So it's a great place to start for that. So some great questions coming in. Thank you everyone for that. There's one on Instagram now. Someone saying that, yes, follow us on YouTube. Yeah, we just reached 100,000, just passed over 100,000 on YouTube recently. So if you don't follow us on YouTube, this is live on YouTube and will be available to watch back on YouTube later as well. And yes, we have tons of videos on there to help, particularly with the frogs handstand, but loads of stuff. So we've got, full playlist. There's a series of conditioning work. There's all sorts on there, everything you could think of in terms of bodyweight and calisthenics training. So Dean Dino, does the angle of frog stand matter? Tipping forward to help you. So the more, when you put those knees a little bit high and the bum goes up and you tip forward a little bit, that's going to get you closer towards like that transition position to get up into the tucked handstand and then into the full handstand. So that is helpful. It takes more strength from the shoulders and the triceps, but yes, it will be more helpful for that for sure. No, we haven't received a YouTube button after getting 100,000. We need to touch. Do we get some? We thought we're supposed to get something for having 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Sounds like you get a button. We look forward to coming to that. Maybe it's in the post. It's on the way. Maybe it's raw mail just being a bit slow. Anyway, thank you guys for watching and joining along. If you have any questions, either put them in the comments on YouTube, or if you're on Instagram, you can send us a DM, and we're more than happy to help you with your handstand, your frog stand journeys. This is a great one for building up the strength for some of those progressions into frog to handstand. If you want a full program to follow, as I've mentioned quickly before, we've got a 25% offer. 25% off our frog to handstand program. That's one of the online programs that people get as part of their memberships with the virtual classroom. But you can buy it as a one-off. That 25% off means it's 74 quid rather than 99 as a one-off payment. Or you can get membership where it's £9.99 a month, and you get access to 10 plus online programs and help from all of the coaches here at the School of Calisthenics, and you can access all that online. And then with the memberships, the monthly memberships, there's a 7-day free trial as well, so you can literally test it out for free if you want, or you've got the option to buy it as a one-off for 74 quid, which is just that one payment. So check it out if you haven't done yet, and if you have any other questions or follow-ups from this, hit us up in the comments or on a DM, and also just like, as you practice it and have a go with it with your training, let us know how you are getting on. We look forward to hearing and helping you with your progress. So until next time, from the School of Calisthenics and the Big Line, I've been Jacko. You've been awesome. Class dismissed.